What's up, YouTubers? Today I got a box review of 1991 Upper Deck High Series. I picked this up at my local antique mall for $8 and had a lot of fun opening it. I didn't open up too much of Upper Deck 1991 back in the day from either series, so a lot of these cards were new to me and my collection, of course. So let's get into the highlights here. I've got all these stacks that I want to go over, and let's have some fun. All the common cards I left here in the box, and in some of the research that I did of 1991 Upper Deck, it says that estimated print runs were 3 million. So even though the box does say limited edition high quality cards, limited edition no, high quality for the time yes. So let's get right into these. The interesting part about the high and low series, you get 1 through 700, which was the low series, and then 701 to 800 was the high series. You could pull players that got traded during the season, like Steve Bedrosian from the Giants to the Minnesota Twins, and Dwight Evans from the Red Sox to looking strange in Oriole Orange. And then it's not really chilly in California, but it is chilly in Minnesota, so that makes a little bit more sense. So, and then with only 701 to 800 being the high series cards, there was a lot of duplication with the high series cards. So this was definitely a Sean Abner hot box and a Dave Righetti hot box. Interesting side note, the first 4 packs had Dave Righetti cards, and I was like, if I pull a Dave Righetti card in every pack, it's going to be an interesting box. But I pulled 5 of him, and don't call me Rock Reigns, I pulled 5 of him in the high series. He was traded from the Expos to the White Sox, I believe, at the deadline. So those were the winners of the most pulled cards out of that box. The Series 1 had the team checklists, and because this was a mix with the high series, I only pulled a handful of the Vernon Wells team checklist cards, which I'm a big fan of, but unfortunately I only pulled a handful. We got Roberto Kelly with the Yankees, Razor Ramon Martinez with the Dodgers, Dave Parker with the Brewers. I don't remember him having a resurgence in the 1990 season with the Brewers to warrant a team checklist card, but maybe I need to go to baseballreference.com and see what Dave Parker did in 1990 to warrant a team checklist card. Matt Williams with the Giants, who at this point was already bald. Robbie Alomar, right before he was traded to the Toronto Blue Jays. And last but not least, my favorite player from the late 80s into the early 90s, Chris Slabo with the Cincinnati Reds. That's going to hold a special place in my collection. So, but for right now, we'll just put him over there. These Upper Deck cards, the design was really nice. It just kind of tweaked what it did with the 89 and 90 set, but I believe this is the cleanest of the 3. I actually prefer this to the 1989 set. I know I'm going to get raked over the coals for that opinion, but it is just that, my opinion. And of course, Upper Deck was known for its great photography, as you can see here by this nice looking Dave Clark card. But they went opposite end of the spectrum with this Rick Sutcliffe, which might be the biggest head I've ever seen on a baseball card. And then we've got Mike Harkey tipping his pitches, letting him know he's throwing the number 1 there. Brian Downing with the most graceful swing ever depicted on cardboard. Joe Slosarski. When I pulled this card, originally I was like, well, that's a neat looking card. Who the hell is Joe Slosarski? I was an A's fan. I vaguely remember this guy, but he's got to have the coolest looking card for a 3-cent common that I've ever seen. All right, Charlie Hough. When I pulled this card, I go, man, Charlie's looking old on that card. Maybe it's just bad shadow and lighting. And then I pulled his update card, and somehow he aged 5 years between the start of the season and the trade deadline to the White Sox. Old man Charlie Hough. We got Frank Tanana trying to make the aviator shades look cool. This was right before the Oakleys became really popular in the early 90s. David Cohn. The reason why this card is in here, and I found this interesting, in 89 or 90, he was charged with lewd conduct. Somehow he lured 3 groupie women into the bullpen, exposed himself, and supposedly masturbated in front of them. That was the story. But the interesting side note is the back of this card, the picture was taken moments before that incident happened. So we've got David bored there in the dugout thinking of ways to pass some time. So I just thought that was interesting. And here we've got Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy, or excuse me, Ted Higuera. Dante Bichette, who's so good at hitting that he went to bat with a toothpick, as I like to call him, Dante Bichette. Here we've got King Griffey Sr. trying to give some insight to the game to this kid who probably isn't going to pan out and turn into anything anyway, so you're wasting your time, Mr. King Griffey Sr. On that note, we've got Ozzie Canseco getting some advice from his brother Jose. Ozzie had all the tools. I mean, he had all the DNA, he had the good coaching staff, but he was missing that one fundamental of the game, and that was being able to hit the baseball. So he never panned out. We've got Moise Towlett Alou. I don't pull many Moise Alou cards because I didn't buy too many early 90s baseball. But I owe Steve Bartman an explanation for the reason why the Cubs fans hated him so much, and I blame Moise Towlett Alou. That foul ball against the Marlins in 2003, was it? I might be wrong on the year, but had he just trotted back out to his position and not thrown a hissy fit, the fans would not have given a crap, because every fan would have done the exact same thing that Steve Bartman did, and that was going for the ball. So I blame Moise Towlett Alou for that whole incident with Steve Bartman back in the day. Now we got a few nicknames here. We've got Dan Please My Sack. Randy is always ready. Brent Mane and Tail. Tom Inagata Davidens. David Segway. Todd Third Degree Burns. Whoop. Hanging with Eric Shaw. If you don't know what that one means, you need to look it up. Mike Blows. George Taco Bell. I Found My Thrill on Damon Berryhill. Ken Daily Double. And Juan Whataburger. Alright. From the Series 1, we had Star Rookies and Top Prospects, which I don't see what the difference was between a Star Rookie and a Top Prospect. The list of these guys, they all pretty much sucked anyway. There's only 3 rookies in this complete set. Excuse me, 3 Hall of Fame rookies. It's Jeff Bagwell, Mike Mussina, and Chipper Jones. Unfortunately, I only pulled one of those. We'll get to that in a minute here. But here's the Star Rookies that I pulled. We got Geronimo Jalapeno, Scott Cooper, who was actually an All-Star in '93, I believe, and Ajar Cedeno, Steve Decker, who obviously went to the George Brett School of Pine Tar application there, Kevin, no relation to Tim Belcher, Jeff Conine, he actually had a really good career, 2,000 hits, a couple-time All-Star. Actually didn't become a regular until he was 27, so he actually missed a handful of his early years toiling in the minors. Eric Karros, of course, was Rookie of the Year in '91, almost 300 career home runs, now as a broadcaster for the MLB Network. And we got Benny the Jet Rodriguez, who I don't remember his playing career too much, other than I know he stole home plate back in 1993. So Benny the Jet Rodriguez there. And now we've got our top prospects. Willie not banking on a long career. Len Brutcher. Pat Kelly, he actually was a utility infielder for the Yankees for a handful of seasons. Kyle Don't Call Me Jim Abbott. Jeff Juden. Steve Carsey. Todd Van Fizzle. His career didn't have too much pop, but it definitely had some fizzle. Brooke No Dice. Roger Salkeld. Tim Costo-Living. Rolls Royce Clayton with the Giants. I think he almost played a decade in the bigs. Had a handful of seasons where he was a starter, but mostly a utility guy. Wilfredo Cordero with the Expos. Kiki Jones. Michael Gary Scott, who gave up baseball and became the regional manager of a small paper company in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Now, Rico Brownie, I couldn't decide which nickname to go with, if it was going to be Rico Suave Brownie or Rico Bologna. But he actually had a handful of decent seasons towards the end of the 90s. He had, I think, 3 20-homer seasons and had back-to-back 100 RBI years with the Phillies. And then he just flamed out before the age of 30, I think. So Rico Suave Bologna there. John Eriks and Chris Johnson. His baseball career flamed out as well. He went back to school to East Carolina, I believe, and became a running back for the Tennessee Titans. Ran for over 2,000 yards. So Chris Johnson, back when he was white. So those were my prospects and star rookies. As you can see, there wasn't too many stars. And now we've got all my Hall of Fame and star cards that I pulled here. We got MVP lineup with Andre Dawson, George Bell, and Ryan Sandberg. Kind of an interesting card. Got a couple of Robin Younts from Series 1, and a couple of nice Nolan Ryans from Series 1 as well. Eddie Murray, happy to be back in his hometown of LA. Had almost a career year that year, batted .330, which is, I think, a career high. A couple of Cal Ripkens. The kid, Gary Carter, with the Dodgers. That just looks wrong. Paul Merrill before the juice. Kirby Puckett, back when both of his eyes were working and he was alive. Although I shouldn't say that. I was a big fan of Kirby Puckett, so rest in peace, Kirby. Tim Raines with the Expos before he was traded to the White Sox. Joe Carter, Gary Sheffield, Wade Boggs, a young Larry Walker there. Fred McGriff, the crime dog. I pulled 3 of him. He needs to be in the Hall of Fame. If he had 3 more home runs, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. Bo Jackson with the Royals, and then just fallen short of being the most pulled there. I pulled 4 Bo Jacksons. That was after his horrible incident with the Raiders when he dislocated his hip and basically ended his career in both sports. This is an interesting one here. We got triple threats, Astros rookies. Pulled 3 of those with Luis Gonzalez, Jeff Bagwell, and Carl Tuffy Rhodes. Gonzalez and Bagwell had long, extensive careers with the help of performance enhancers, and apparently they didn't let Carl Tuffy Rhodes in on the benefits of that because he's like a .220 career hitter and maybe had 10 career home runs. So Edgar Martinez, the best DH in the bigs, but he might have been enhanced as well. His jaw structure and face got a little bit big, which is not normal unless you're doing something to enhance those features. Ryan Sandberg, Hall of Famer. Bert Blyleven, at the twilight of his career, his pitches must have looked about the size of beach balls to hitters back in 1991. Pulled a couple of those. We've got Sammy Sosa, who we know was a juicer. Robbie Alomar, pulled 3 of those. Those is a high series card. We got Paul Molitor, pulled a couple of those. John Smoltz and Moose rookie card. That's one of the 3 Hall of Fame rookies out of this set. So that's actually in pretty good shape here. Centering on that's really good. If these weren't limited to 3 million, maybe I'd send that in for grading. But so that's all my star cards that I pulled. And then the Hank Aaron inserts, there was an odd stated on the packs about what the insertion ratio is or was. Set up my Sabo back there because I like looking at it. But I pulled a Hank Aaron Baseball Heroes card in every pack. As you can see, there's 1 complete set, even with the short printed header card, 1 through 10. There's 1 set. There's another complete set. And then all these duplicates here. We've got almost 3 complete sets, almost 4. I'm missing like 3 cards and I would have had 4 complete sets. So limited edition Baseball Heroes. Interesting that I pulled 2 of these Hank Aaron holograms, numbered Triple H 1, Hunter Hearst Hemsley 1, pulled 2 of those. Didn't know that even though those existed, had never seen those before, so those were pretty neat looking. And then the short print 2 card, the SP1, was the Michael Jordan taking batting practice with the White Sox in the Series 1. The Series 2 was the events of May 1st, 1991, when Nolan Ryan threw his 7th no-hitter and Ricky Henderson broke the stolen base record from Lou Brock. I pulled 2 of those. It was so short printed, I pulled 2 in one box. As you can see, SP2 there. Like I said, the SP1 was the Michael Jordan. But I pulled 2 of those and pulled a Hank Aaron Baseball Heroes card in every single pack. So, but overall, this was a very fun box to open. Like I said, I'm glad I did it off camera because the collation of the cards in the packs was really bad. They were flipped every which way. Um, but I really enjoyed that box. Maybe I'll go back, and I think they had some Series 1. I'll pick up a Series 1 box and do the same thing off camera. So, but the Chris Sabo was definitely the highlight of the box. It was my favorite card. So, but anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.